I was halfway through peeling off my blazer and cursing my heels when I realized the light was on under Donovan's bedroom door. It was almost 11, and I wasn't supposed to be home yet. The work event had wrapped early when the CEO's speech got mercifully cut short by a malfunctioning microphone, and I'd Ubered home dreaming of sweatpants and leftover pad thai. Our apartment was quiet in that way that carries sound, so the low thump of music from Donovan's room floated down the hallway, something synthy and soft, the kind of playlist he puts on when he's cooking. I towed off my shoes by the door and padded down the hall, rolling my neck. His door was slightly open, just enough that the hallway light cut a thin slice across the hardwood of his room. I was about to call out, "Some lazy hey, I'm home early, save me from corporate small talk," when I glanced through the gap. And stopped. Donovan was standing in front of his full-length mirror, back to me, and at first my brain snagged on the wrong part of the picture. The dress? That was my dress. The cream-coloured satin mini I'd worn to a wedding last summer, the one that clung a little at the hips and made me feel like the expensive champagne I couldn't afford. It skimmed his thighs in a way that was both familiar and completely new. Then my gaze slid down and I saw my sheer black pantyhose, stretched over longer, thicker legs than mine, and a pair of my black block heels. His usually messy dark hair was pulled back with one of my gold clips. On the dresser, my open makeup bag was spread out like a crime scene. He was holding my eyeliner in one hand, his other elbow propped against the dresser as he leaned close to the mirror. The tip of his tongue poked out as he concentrated, drawing a careful line along his upper lid. His expression was so serious and gentle, like he was doing surgery on himself. I flattened myself against the wall on instinct, heart hammering, every nerve crackling with the sense that I was somewhere I shouldn't be. He didn't see me. He put the eyeliner down, picked up my blush brush, and lightly touched colour onto his cheeks. He was good at it. Not expert, but better than someone trying it for the first time. After a minute, he stepped back, gave himself a once-over, and then, this is the part that really got me, he smoothed his hands down the front of the dress, over his hips, then along his pantyhose-clad thighs, like he was testing whether his own body felt real. Then he twirled. A small, tentative spin, watching himself in the mirror. Something in my chest gave this odd little flutter. I'd always known Donovan as my solid, reliable roommate. We are both in our 40s, his 42 to my 41, and we joke that we are platonically married to the lease. He's a software engineer who stress bakes bread. I'm a project manager who double books myself and forgets to defrost chicken. We met through a mutual friend's game night, hit it off, and 3 years ago decided it made more sense to split rent on a nice 2-bedroom than to keep overpaying for separate showbox apartments. I knew Donovan's coffee order, his favourite video game soundtracks, the way he always fell asleep during movies. I did not know that he sometimes wore my satin mini dress and did his makeup to soft synth pop. I should have backed away. That would have been the polite, non-intrusive thing. Knock loudly, give him time to change, pretend I'd seen nothing. But I just stood there, frozen, watching my roommate glide a hand over his legs and smile shyly at himself in the mirror. It wasn't mocking or campy. It wasn't a joke. It was tender. And bold in this quiet, private way. To my horror, I felt my lips curve up. Not in amusement at his expense, but in something like admiration. And there was a little spark of excitement under it, bright and undeniable. Okay, Chelsea, I thought. You can't just lurk out here like a creep. I took a breath, squared my shoulders, and pushed the door open the rest of the way. Well, I said, channeling every ounce of theatrical flair I owned, what do we have here? Donovan whipped around so fast I thought he might twist an ankle. His face went from perfectly blended foundation to beet red in half a second. Chels, oh my God, I thought you were at your thing, he stammered. His eyes were huge, darting around like there might be a teleportation device hidden in the room to spirit him away. "I'm so sorry, I'll change, I'll take that dress off," I barked. His mouth dropped open. For half a beat, the air between us crystallized. I saw the panic flood his eyes, the way his shoulders hunched like he was bracing for impact. Then the mischievous part of my brain, the one that had lit up watching him twirl, grabbed the steering wheel. "And put on the silver silk mini," I added, letting a grin break across my face. "I need to see more of your legs." There was this incredible moment where his whole body seemed to glitch. His brain clearly tried to run both the "I'm in trouble" script and the "wait, is she joking" script at once. He just stood there, frozen, pantyhose catching the lamplight, eyeliner winged a little too harshly on one side. I giggled, partly to break the tension, partly because I truly couldn't help it. "Donovan. Breathe. I'm not mad." "Well," I raised an eyebrow. "I'm a tiny bit mad you didn't think to invite me to the fashion show. But mostly I'm impressed." His shoulders sagged. Then, slowly, a smile crept into the corners of his mouth. "Are you serious?" he asked. His voice was small, like he was afraid of shattering the moment. "Dead serious," I said. "But we are going to talk about the fact that you raided my closet without asking." In the meantime, I stepped fully into the room, closing the door behind me. "Can we do a fashion show? Like, of my stuff that fits you? I need to see more outfits." "For science." He barked out a disbelieving laugh and covered his face with his hands. "Oh my God," he said through his fingers. "Oh my God." When he dropped his hands, his eyes were wet. He crossed the room in 3 careful steps and hugged me so tight I almost lost my balance in my stocking feet. "You're not freaked out," he mumbled into my hair. "Oh, I'm absolutely freaked out," I said honestly. But not in a bad way. Moina, how did I not know about this whole fabulous side of my roommate Way? He pulled back, wiping at his eyes with the back of his hand, leaving a faint streak of eyeliner on his knuckle. "I've been cross-dressing for a long time," he said, as if reciting a confession he'd practiced. "Since I was a kid. It started with my stepmom's stuff. Not, like, in a creepy way, the softness, the color. It felt like I could be someone else for a minute. I know how that sounds." "It sounds like you're human," I said. "And maybe like you owe your stepmom a very delayed apology." He laughed again, shakier this time. I sank down onto the edge of his bed, taking him in. The dress pulled a little across his chest, not made for his broader shoulders, but he'd zipped it up somehow. The pantyhose were stretched more than they were on me, but not in a way that looked bad. He looked good. Not because he was passing as a woman, he wasn't, quite, but because he looked like himself, turned a few degrees toward some inner glow. "You've been doing this here?" I asked. "In our place." He winced. "Yeah. When I thought you were out." "I'm sorry, I know it's not okay to just borrow your things without asking. Once I started, it was like this floodgate opened. Your clothes are so much nicer than anything I own." "Flattery noted," I said dryly. "And you're right, I'm not thrilled you helped yourself." But, I sighed, surprising myself with how quickly I'd moved from shock to logistics. "If this is a thing you need, we should get you your own stuff. Stuff that fits you and that you actually picked out. With my expert consultation, obviously." He blinked. "You'd go shopping with me?" I shrugged, trying to look more casual than I felt. "You've seen me cry about my exes over takeout and held my hair back when I got food poisoning. We are well past the point of pretending to be normal. Plus, I have very strong opinions about hemlines." The smile that broke over his face was the kind you only see on someone who's been carrying something heavy for a long time and finally puts it down. He sat beside me, the mattress dipping, and for a moment we just sat there, shoulder to shoulder, looking at our reflection in the mirror. Two adults in their 40s, one in borrowed satin and eyeliner, the other still in a rumpled work blouse and pencil skirt, both of us suddenly aware that our roommateship had shifted onto new terrain. "Fashion show now," I said briskly, clapping my hands once. "More later. Let's see what else in my closet fits you. Consider this a preliminary sizing session." For the next hour, my room looked like a boutique that had been hit by a very specific tornado. We tried on dresses, skirts, tops, some hilarious, some surprisingly perfect. There was a floral skater dress that I'd always felt slightly frumpy in that made him light up. There was a navy sheath that wouldn't zip past his ribs, but had us both laughing on the floor. We experimented with belts, cardigans, even one of my blazers over a silky camisole. Somewhere in the middle, while I was kneeling to adjust the hem of a teal dress on him, I realized my hands were shaking a little. Not from discomfort, exactly. From something else. A humming awareness of how close we were, the warmth of his thigh under the fabric, the way he was looking down at me like he couldn't believe this was happening. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. "Yeah," I said, too quickly. "Just, dressing room adrenaline." The truth was messier. Watching him inhabit these clothes with such joy and vulnerability tugged something deep in me. It wasn't just "my friend looks cute." It was this fierce tenderness, this urge to protect and celebrate him, coupled with a flicker of attraction I'd never quite let myself examine before. Donovan had always been handsome in a scruffy, understated way. Seeing him like this, open and luminous, made my heart do strange, fluttery things. We collapsed onto the bed eventually, exhausted, surrounded by piles of fabric. "I can't believe you're okay with this," he said, staring at the ceiling. "I had this whole disaster scenario in my head where you walked in, freaked out, told me to move out, and I ended up renting a studio over a laundromat." "You dramatically overestimate my willingness to give up this apartment," I said. "Also, you're my friend." "A weird friend, sure, but join the club." He turned his head to look at me. "It's more than just a hobby," he said cautiously. "Sometimes it feels like, I don't know, like letting out a breath I've been holding since I was 10. I don't think I want to be anyone else, exactly. I just like this." I nodded. "You don't owe me a perfect explanation," I said. "Or a label. I just need honesty and consent around my closet." He laughed. "Fair." The next afternoon, we went to the mall. It felt almost surreal, walking into the women's section with him at my side, both of us pretending this was totally normal. I plucked dresses off racks and held them up to his shoulders, muttering about colors and cuts. He kept glancing around, nervous, like someone was going to jump out and yell, "Gotcha." "Don," I said at one point, arms full of hangers, "look around. It's 2025. Half the people here are trying stuff on for TikTok. No one cares what we are doing." He let out a breath. Right. We picked out skater dresses that actually fit his chest and waist. A silver silk mini that hit mid-thigh and made his legs look incredible. A couple of structured blazers. In the shoe store, he discovered the joy and agony of high heels. I made him do a full lap in each pair to test for blister potential, cackling like a stern coach. At the hosiery display, he hovered, fingers brushing the plastic packages, eyes wide. "Go on," I said. "You can pick more than one. I'm not a pantyhose gatekeeper." He laughed and grabbed a few, sheer black, a fun patterned pair, summer peg tights for colder days. In the makeup store, one of the employees, a young person with blue hair and flawless contour, came over and asked what we were looking for. Donovan froze. I leaned in. "Starter kit," I said. "Foundation, eyeliner, maybe a couple of lip colors." He's been borrowing mine, and I'm tired of searching for my mascara. They grinned. We love a supportive roommate, they said, and proceeded to walk us through everything with a kindness that made my throat tight. They matched him for foundation, showed him how to blend, suggested a soft berry lipstick that made his eyes pop. By the time we stumbled back into the apartment, arms laden with bags, we were both giddy. It felt like we'd pulled off a heist, except the loot was his joy. That night, after we'd put everything away in his closet, his clothes, not mine, I stood in the doorway and watched him run his hand over the row of new outfits. I feel like a kid on Christmas morning, he said. Except this time the toys are actually meant for me. The words meant for me lodged in my chest. From then on, dressing up became our thing. Not every day, not even every week, but often enough that it settled into the rhythm of our lives. Sometimes on a Friday night we'd declare it fashion hour, pour some wine, put on a playlist, and raid his side of the closet. I'd try on something from my own wardrobe I'd been too shy to wear to the office. He'd experiment with a new look. We'd take selfies, judge each other's eyeliner, trade tips on shapewear. It was fun. It was intimate in a way that wasn't about sex, exactly, but about being seen. And somewhere in all that, my crush snuck up on me. I noticed it one Sunday afternoon when we were sprawled on the couch, him in jeans and a hoodie, barefaced, hair fluffy from a shower. I was half watching some baking show, half scrolling on my phone. He laughed at something on screen, head tipping back, and my stomach did this weird swoop. Oh no, I thought. Not this. I'd dated plenty since my last serious relationship imploded 3 years ago. Men who were fine, men who were disasters, men who were allergic to commitment, men who wanted children tomorrow. None of them lived with me, cooked me breakfast, or knew exactly how I took my tea. None of them had trusted me enough to show me a part of themselves they'd kept hidden for decades. That trust did something to me. Made my feelings slide from fondness into, this could hurt if I'm not careful. For a while, I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was just the intimacy high from our secret fashion shows, the way shared vulnerability can make anyone look like a rom-com lead. I reminded myself that Donovan had never given any indication he saw me that way. As far as I knew, his romantic history was a smattering of ex-girlfriends and one very dramatic breakup with a guy in his 20s he referred to only as the guitarist. We'd never really defined his orientation. It felt, beside the point, somehow. He was just Donovan. My person. But then there were little moments. The way his hand lingered on my shoulder when he squeezed past me in the kitchen. The way he'd look at me when I tried on something new and say, sincerely, you look amazing, no qualifiers. The night he walked down the hallway in that silver Mini and caught me staring, and we both looked away a little too quickly. I started to feel like there was an invisible thread between us, humming, waiting. One evening, after a particularly long day at work where my boss used the phrase piggyback on that 8 times, I came home to find Donovan at the stove, in leggings and an oversized sweater, hair pulled back, eyeliner still faint at the corners from earlier. He handed me a glass of wine and said, "You look wrecked." "Sit." I made pasta. I sat at the counter and watched him move around the kitchen, easy and comfortable. The crush swelled, big and undeniable. "This is dangerous," I blurted. He froze mid-stir. "The pasta." "I mean, it's a lot of garlic, but I said, and then wanted to bite my tongue off. "Us? This? It feels dangerous in a good way. Like I'm going to trip and fall into feelings." He turned off the burner slowly and faced me, leaning back against the counter. His expression was cautious, but there was a flicker of something like hope in it. "Chelsea," he said, "I have been trying really hard not to make things weird." "Same," I said, laughing weakly. "I don't want to mess up what we have," he went on. "You're my best friend. My home. But sometimes when we are doing those fashion shows, and you look at me like I'm not a complete alien, like I'm, I don't know, attractive, he trailed off, cheeks flushing. I get a little ahead of myself. My heart thudded so loud I was sure he could hear it. I do think you're attractive, I said quietly. Dress or no dress. There it was, hanging between us like a fragile ornament. We didn't leap into each other's arms. There were no swelling violins. Instead, he walked around the counter, took the stool next to mine, and said, "Okay. So here's my suggestion. Since we are both conflict avoidant and extremely fond of this apartment, we go slow. Like, painfully slow. We talk too much. We make sure the friendship doesn't get sacrificed on the altar of horny midlife crisis." I snorted. Agreed. And no assumptions. No just because we did X it means Y. We check in. We let each other say no without drama. And we keep fashion hour, he added. Non-negotiable. Obviously, I said. That's the cornerstone of our entire relationship. He grinned, relief softening his features. So, maybe we are two 40-somethings who are allowed to have a crush on each other and not have every answer yet. I nodded. And maybe, I said, we keep letting each other see the weird, vulnerable parts. Like the version of you in my satin dress, and the version of me who admits she's terrified of being abandoned, and we see where that takes us. Deal, he said. He held out his pinky. I looped mine around it and squeezed. We ate pasta on the couch, our shoulders touching, not making a big deal out of it. Later, we put on music and tried on clothes, not as a prelude to anything, just because it's what we do. He twirled in a new skater dress, laughter bubbling out of him. I tried on a jumpsuit I'd been afraid to wear in public. I watched him in the mirror, eyeliner a little smudged, pantyhose catching the lamplight, and felt that same flutter from the first night, now joined by something steadier. A sense that this was ours. Our secret, our experiment, our careful, honest attempt at something more. I don't know exactly where it's going. Maybe we'll date. Maybe we'll decide we are better as friends who sometimes flirt in the kitchen. Maybe in 10 years we'll still be here, two middle-aged weirdos arguing over who gets the last hanger. What I do know is that night I came home early and found my male roommate in my dress could have been a rupture. A scandal. A reason to pull away. Instead, it cracked us open in the best possible way. Now, every time Donovan slips into one of his dresses or experiments with a new lipstick, I feel that now familiar spark of excitement, not just because he looks good, though he does, but because it reminds me how brave it is to show someone who you really are. And how lucky I am that, at 41, in a city that often feels anonymous, I found a person who trusts me with that courage. So I'm going slow. I am being honest. I am letting myself have a crush on my roommate who loves satin and sheer tights and structured blazers in equal measure. And I'm trusting that he'll keep being honest with me too. Because if there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that you can't build anything real, friendship, romance, or whatever we are in this strange in-between without a little bit of fearless truth, and maybe a really good silver silk mini dress